I have been incredibly fortunate to have the opportunity to get to know both of these women over the past 2 decades. Michelle Obama and Michelle Collins are both deeply passionate about creating a bright future for all children, and they continue to work very hard to make that vision a reality. So please join me in welcoming 2 hometown forces of nature, Michelle and Michelle.
Goodness. Well, thank you
well, hi,
so
Michelle.
much. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Chicago.
Oh, my goodness. Well, as you know, we are delighted to have you here today and with all of our friends at Erikson and the entire Chicago community. And we'll get started with this little conversation. So thank
I am
you
happy
so much.
to be here, really. Always happy to be back home.
Well, I thought maybe we could start with the Obama Presidential Center.
Oh, that little thing?
It is growing up out of the concrete on the south side of Chicago. It's beautiful, and we just love to hear a little bit about it and what your vision for it is in the future.
Well, I can't imagine that the people in this room don't know about the Obama Presidential Center, because probably everybody here has had a hand in making the center a reality. But it is amazing. I was in Chicago last week and had a chance to drive around the site. I try to do it every time I'm home. And it is breathtaking to see that building, which was a concept after 8 years in the White House, to see the legacy of the Obama administration coming out of the ground on the south side of Chicago. You all know that the location of that foundation means everything to us, because it will be one of the most impactful economic development projects on the south side, our home community, and the resources are needed. So we are working hard even before the doors open, still working on the Obama Fellows, the work we're doing with our fellows, still working to help train and promote that next generation of leaders, not just in Chicago, but around the world. Just had an amazing event last week in Chicago where we launched a new initiative through My Girls Opportunity Alliance. We are working in collaboration with the Clooney Foundation and the Gates Foundation to work to end child marriage. So our work in girls' education globally continues. But more importantly, the foundation, we want it to be a resource for the folks in our backyard. We are developing partnerships in schools and with agencies all around the city, and anyone here who is representing one of those agencies or schools, I want to thank you for your willingness to work with us. We are excited to be a real force in our neighborhood. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to be on the south side of Chicago. We want this center to be an international draw. We want it to be a place where young people on the south side of Chicago feel seen, they feel valued. We hope to have fabulous art as well as wonderful architecture as a product of the South Side. There wasn't something like this for us. We've always had the Museum of Science and Industry, which has been a wonderful partner, but to have another cultural institution that will draw people from around the world will make all the difference for the people of the South Side of Chicago. So we are just humbled to be able to implement this work here in our hometown.
That's fantastic. Well, as a South Sider, I have to tell you, I can't wait to see it get to fully built out, and it'll be a great time for us. So switching gears just a little bit, I wanted just to shift to you and to education, and maybe we could start off a little bit about your educational experiences, starting with early childhood.
Well, that's a long story, long answer. My early childhood education started with somebody that I have to acknowledge who is sitting here among us all, who is Marian Robinson, my mother, and and that's where all early childhood education starts. If you were lucky enough to have a parent who is not only full of common sense and energy, but has a real dedication and understanding and a belief and value in all kids, you already start off ahead. And what I tell parents is that what you need to be a good parent has nothing to do with legacy or resources, because we had none of that. We were a working class family. My parents didn't go to college. They didn't get the access to the resources of the Erikson Institute. But what my mother gave me from an early start was that she saw me. She saw me as a child. She valued my voice, she and my father, from a very early age. She believed in our ability. She raised us to be independent. She was a fierce advocate without being a helicopter mom, which I will stop there because I know we have a room full of helicopter people in this room, and I can tell you that do less and your kids will do more.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
But Marian Robinson believed in the possibility of all kids. She started reading to us early. My brother and I, we both learned to read, talked very early, 3, 4 years old. The work started at home.
Sure.
So because of the parents I had, I came to school ready. Knew my colors, tell the story in Becoming of how frustrated I was that I missed reading the word white on the first time you were supposed to do color identification, because I was already super competitive with myself, even in kindergarten. My mother didn't stand in the way of that, but she also didn't, she tried to chill that out a little bit as well. But when you start out with a good foundation from home, then you are already tracked when you get into the public school system. And I will also say that my mother and father were believers in public education. They were believers in staying in a community that knew you, where you'd have teachers who would see you so that you wouldn't be blocked by the subconscious, might I say, racism that may come along when you are an only in a school. And sometimes we do that. We trade out putting our kid in a better system, especially for kids of color.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're dealing with a whole nother set of issues. My mother was a fierce believer that we stay on the South Side, we stay in the community that we know, so that we were ensured that we'd have teachers that could see us and wouldn't set our bars low. Because that too also happened to me. Being a young black kid, you learn early on that people will set your bars low. I saw that in second grade because I went to public school, and the second grade class that I was in was completely chaotic. And I remember this clearly. I wrote about this because the teacher couldn't maintain control over the classroom. There was no homework going out. In second grade, I understood this. And I knew that this wasn't how education was supposed to be. But unlike a lot of kids, I had a mother who was at home and I could go to and say, Mom, something's not right. You know, they are allowing us to go for months without good focus and work. So that just goes to show you how much kids know and feel when they're being underinvested in. They know it as early as kindergarten and first grade. They know when they're being segregated and separate out and tracked and they're missing things, and I knew it. But I had a mother who was involved in the PTA. That was another advantage. So she went up to that school, and she, wound up pulling us out. It was only 3 of us who were saved from that second grade class.
Oh my God.
We were able to test out of second grade.
Okay.
And after a month being in a chaotic class, I was skipped to 3rd grade.
Oh, I see.
But that wasn't because the school recognized my talent. It was because my mother advocated for me. I would have been stuck in that second grade class. And the sad part is that the rest of the kids were stuck in that second grade class. So I saw how early kids are left behind.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I went on to be in a multi-age class, where I got supplemental work in grammar school.
Sure.
We were able to go to Kennedy King and get biology courses, to go to Chicago State to be in university to get writing programs, because we had innovative teachers that existed in the public school system, but it began because the resources were so limited.
Right.
They could only do it for a handful of kids, a classroom or two. But there was a whole school full of kids with the same ability that were being left behind. And I will stop here because that one experience, just birth to 8th grade, I think made the absolute difference in my life, because it set a foundation that allowed me to then go to a magnet high school that made me competitive for Princeton and then on to Harvard. And my whole trajectory changed, and it started with my mother. It started with her, that foundation that she laid.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you if you had any gaps or shortfalls in your education, but it sounds like you didn't, because you didn't let it happen.
I didn't think I did until I got to Princeton, where I realized, wow, I got to catch up. Because even with everything I had, for all of us who are putting our kids in private schools, me included, we know the difference. We know that kids who were coming out of under-resourced systems and able to compete and get in college are still far behind. Because guess what? While we're crying about the cost of public education and our taxes for public schools, many of us are paying $30,000, $40,000 a year for our kids to be ahead of everybody else. And guess what? They are. Because I came to Princeton not knowing what a syllabus was. I went to Princeton never writing a major paper before. I went to Princeton never having been away from home for a long period of time, and getting adjusted to living on a dorm and being in a small precept class where you were expected to, speak out and talk frequently. I went to school with students who were retaking math classes that they had in sophomore year of high school that I'd never known. So yeah, there were gaps. Because there is a gap in education in this country. We tolerate a whole nother level of education for the vast majority of kids, regardless of the color of their skin. And many of us who have resources and the ability to pay more hoard our resources for our kids and their schools. And yes, there are gaps. I shouldn't have to be as brilliant as I had to be to compete with the kids who had way more resources than I did to sit in the same seats in college. So I absolutely had gaps that I had to make up. And so, but it starts with our willingness, all of us, to be taxed and to put that money into a public education system that all kids will benefit from, so that our kids aren't the only ones who are advantaged.
Yes, exactly. So with all your experiences, how did that influence the decisions you made for early childhood experiences for your kids?
Well, my kids had advantages. They had me. They had their grandmother.
They did.
You know, I knew what 2 black girls in America needed.
Yeah.
And they needed an edge. And they needed to, we were very intentional about our parenting. We talked to our kids early. You know, it starts early. Lots of reading, lots of singing, lots of FaceTime, lots of floor time. I readjusted my entire life as a professional. I didn't get off the track, but my kids became my priority.
Sure.
I took my foot off the pedal as my husband, as you all know, put his foot on the gas. But we knew that both of us couldn't be as alert as we needed to be and watchful over our kids' education, because even though our kids went to lab school, that's no guarantee that the people there are going to be taking care and watching them and making sure that they're getting what they need. So I took lesser pay, I left jobs, I went part-time, tried to, hold back. And I want to thank everybody here, from Susan Scher to, John Levy, to everybody who helped me parent my kids and value parenting my kids as a working mother. But it started with me and Barack saying that we have to watch our kids' education and development, and sometimes that meant that we had to change our trajectory. So that was a big sort of teaching that I got, that I had to be able to, I couldn't assume that lab school was just going to take care of my kids, that we write the check and they would be fine.
Right.
There still requires a vigilance on the part of the parent to help your kids sort through the highs and lows, the doubters, the little hits that they're going to take from teachers and folks alike when they're trying to become who they can be.
That's right.
And I wanted to be there for my kids, to know their teachers, to know their friends, to look people in the eye when I knew somebody was messing with my kid, to hold them accountable, to know that my kids had people watching them,
Right.
And watching over them, because things are different for kids when they know when somebody knows, a teacher knows that they've got somebody watching.
That's right.
And holding them accountable, and I wanted to be that for my girls.
Yes. Well, family is everything for young children. Absolutely. So I'm going to switch to the theme of today's event, which is justice for young children and families. And I'd like to ask you, what does a just world for young children look like to you?
Well, I think I just went off briefly on that point earlier, so forgive me.
Okay.
That's a big question. Justice for kids means that we value them when they're out of the womb and not just when they're in the womb.
Standing ovation on that one.
But let's be honest, we don't value kids. We don't. We don't invest in them. We don't pay teachers enough. We don't value social workers. We don't want to be bothered with that. And I know there are a lot of investment bankers in the room, but teachers shouldn't be making less than y'all. I'm sorry. In societies that value kids, and that goes for lawyers and politicians and me. I don't want to pick on investment bankers because I know you all feel picked on. Sorry. But in societies where kids are valued, the people who surround them are valued too. We can't say we care about the development of children, and then teachers are struggling to, educate their own kids and put a roof over their heads. We can't have social work shortages because the best and brightest go to business school and law school just to make money to pay off their loans. We have to put our money where our mouths are. Justice for children means every child gets access to the resources, the philosophy, the training that is available through the Erikson Institute, that just becomes the norm. That's part of having families, that they have the support and the knowledge and the know-how. It means that they all have access to an excellent public education so that they can develop to their fullest potential. We cannot afford to have kids who are underdeveloped and unseen. It is a danger to us all. All of the kids in these communities that are carjacking and they are busting through windows and they are making people scared, these are all kids that have been devalued and they have no one they have no future, they have nothing to count on, and then we wring our hands and wonder what's going on in this city. You know, kids don't have parks to play in, they don't have to have after school programs, they don't have instruments. Imagine you're a kid that has an innate talent, because talent isn't black or white or rich or poor. Kids are born with the gift of music and song and art and dance and movement, and you're born with that. But you live in a neighborhood where nobody gives you a chance to even develop that. And wouldn't that make you angry? You know, wouldn't that make you want to lash out? Wouldn't that want to make you find other ways to be seen?
Absolutely.
But then we get upset, and now we're scared of those kids, right? Because we didn't see them. Justice for kids means they have to be educated. Every kid should have the opportunity to play an instrument, to try an instrument, to play a sport, to be on a team. That's justice. And we haven't even begun to talk about health care, you know, and access to making sure these kids have good nutrition and they're taught how to eat, you know, so that they are really developing to their fullest potential. And it shouldn't be just some side, cheap, public school lunch that is being delivered by a company that's making $1 billion to give them ketchup and frozen foods. It should be a real meal, something that we would feed our own kids, some vegetables, some fresh food. We should put kitchens back in our schools so that our kids are eating real food and not drinking soda pop and getting their lunch from the corner store. That's justice for kids.
I think this Erikson family can get behind all of that, and I think we should acknowledge that. That is wonderful. So looking to the future just a little bit, you've got a book coming out in a couple of weeks. The Light We Carry, Overcoming in Uncertain Times is the title, I understand, and we would love to know just a little bit about it. Just give us a snitch on it.
Well, the book is a product of the churning in my mind that is probably very much like what everybody went through over those early months of COVID and quarantine, the kind of spinning that we were all going through when we were stuck at home watching our country, the world, seem to disintegrate before our very eyes, and wondering, how did we get here? How do we get out? Because for me, at that point in time, I was finding it hard to find hope. But I was still getting questions and letters from young people in particular of, how do you find your voice? How do you overcome fear? How do you, how are you seen in a time when it feels like young people have a hard time being seen? These questions were coming at me left and right, and I thought, well, before I can answer anything for them, I have to figure this out for myself. And so the book is what resulted from that process for me. It's just basically a sharing of the tools that I use to get myself through. How do I decode fear so that it doesn't allow me to be stuck? I talk about the parenting that has worked for me. I have a chapter on the many philosophies of Marian Robinson that have gotten me through. I talk about the importance of friendship and how, as the First Lady of the United States, I still had to find a way to keep my kitchen table open and invite new voices in. But how do you make friends when you're the First Lady of the United States? My theory is, if I can do it, you can too. So it's sort of a soup pot full of stories. It's still, grounded in the same storytelling approach that I used in Becoming, because lessons, I believe, are learned better through stories rather than finger wagging and pointing. So there's just a lot more of my life that I uncover in this process.
That's wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to reading it, all of us. So thank you for sharing that. And we have one more question, just one more. But I want to say before I ask that question, thank you for sharing this conversation. We are just so happy that you are here. And my one last question is, what is your biggest hope for young children? In one word.
Oh, one word.
One word.
Michelle. That's just wrong. You've noticed that I don't do anything quickly when it comes to talking.
Well, you can use 2 or 3 if you want.
Thank you. But first, I want to congratulate Carrie Sachs on her amazing work. I want to just thank her, Michael, her family. Thank you. You guys have been great supporters of us, and I'm just thrilled to be able to be here to celebrate you today. And I would be remiss without recognizing the one woman in this room who manages to make a room full of overachievers look like slackers. And that is my dear, dear friend, another mother in my life, Barbara Bowman. Can you believe she is still teaching? Barbara, you're crazy.
Only Barbara.
Let me just say, please just sit down, because you're making us all look bad. And I'm not going to be doing that at 94. I'm just not. I'm going to be in a rocker on Martha's Vineyard, saying a lot of crazy stuff that my kids are not going to want anybody to hear. They're not going to want me up at a podium talking. But she is amazing, and everything that the Erikson Institution is a result of the smarts and dedication and passion of Barbara Bowman. She is the wind beneath so many of our wings, and I'm honored to be here for her as well.
We all bow down to Barbara.
We bow down. So a few words on the hopes of kids. I think I said it. My hope, and it's for us. I hope for us as human beings, we begin to really understand how precious our children are. They are our greatest gift. They should be our greatest investment. And all kids, not just the ones we know and love, but, to be First Lady of the United States, you cannot just love your kids. You can't just love the kids who come from the parents who voted for your husband. You can't just like the kids in your city, in your country. As First Lady, I got to travel the world, and I've gotten to see kids at all levels, all languages, all cultures, and they are amazing. They are just amazing. They all come here with a flame, this thing in them, and we can either fuel it up or snuff it out. And too many of us grown-ups do not take that responsibility seriously. We do not think critically about every interaction that we have with every child, because it absolutely matters. They can be great, or they can be breaking into your house. They all have the potential to be amazing.
Absolutely.
But we have to invest. We have to invest in every child like we would in our own, and that's my wish, that's my hope.
That's beautiful, just beautiful. The kids are our future, Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you on the tennis court one day.
I'll be there. Thank you so much.
If I don't take up pickleball. All right, thank you, everyone.